You're listening to Our Space with Matt Batiste.
Hey, I'm really excited about this week's guest because they're coming off of an incredible year, and we're going to get to know them a little bit better, talk to them a little bit about touring with bands like Blink-182, Matchbox 20, as well as writing some music, including a feature from Mark Hoppus, which is really cool. Beauty School Dropout joins the show this week. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Like I said, it has been a huge year for you, and I really want to get into that. But first, I want to get to know each of you a little bit better, a little couple of icebreaker questions, you know, like if they were making a movie about your life, especially you guys being in LA right now, what actor do you want to play you in a biopic?
Keanu Reeves.
You want Nicolas Cage? I want Jonah Hill to play me.
Why Jonah Hill?
Because I resonate with him. I don't know.
I want Meryl Streep to play me.
You guys kind of look the same.
You're so sick.
I feel like that's a valid answer. You know, Meryl Streep, who doesn't want the movie about their life to win awards? You know, if Meryl Streep is in it, immediately you're winning awards.
Yeah, basically, it comes with an Oscar.
Yeah.
and probably a Grammy, too. Okay.
It's in the contracts. Like, this movie needs to win an Oscar featuring Meryl Streep.
There you go. Actually, if you're going to be Meryl Streep, then I want Pete Davidson as me.
Oh,
that works.
I can see Pete Davidson playing you.
I can
see you playing Pete Davidson.
I go.
He's my long lost brother.
That is hilarious. All right. If you were a wrestler, what would your walk-in songs be?
Oh, my God. Check My Brain by Alice in Chains.
Why that one?
Because it's heavy and hard as fuck. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you're allowed to swear. It's a safe space. You can say whatever the hell you want.
I love it.
I do Darude Sandstorm.
That'll get the whole crowd pumped.
But you have to listen to all 9 minutes of it.
Everybody does it.
It's the longest walk-in ever.
It's the extended version.
Actually, you know what? I would also consider doing what's the love is in the air tonight. So hold on. Fucking why am I
Phil Collins in the air tonight?
Yeah.
The drum solo?
I would definitely do Cinema. The remix.
Oh, that'd be lit.
You know what would be the craziest one though is In the Arms of
Sarah
that
McLachlan.
would be a crazy walkout song.
You come out with a donation bucket with that one, asking people in the audience to donate to whatever cause of the day for your walkout. You collect all of that money and then go into the stage and beat up a dude in his underwear.
Sounds like a typical Tuesday night for me.
Isn't that what you were saying off air you guys were doing last night?
Yeah.
Beating dudes in their underwear.
Yeah.
Who were your favorite bands in your teen years?
Oh gosh,
the same bands we listen to now.
Blink-182, Sum 41, Green Day,
Deftones, Alice in Chains. I listened to a lot of TUI early on.
The Wiggles,
Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Cage the Elephant.
Oh yeah.
We're just gonna gloss over the Wiggles there.
Nirvana for sure. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
The Strokes.
The Strokes.
Green Day. What else?
Yeah, I
Pierce
love
the Veil, My Chem, Paramore.
Yeah, My Chem, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely My Chem.
All the standard ones. Who introduced you, each of you, who introduced each of you to all of these bands? Because I feel like we all have that story of the person who handed us a CD or, put a song onto an iPod or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And really spiraled.
I had my dude. Go ahead, Bardo.
I was saying my mom, actually weirdly enough, my biggest phase growing up was Green Day. That was my shit. But weirdly enough, I was listening to The Strokes and Death Cab for Cutie and Arcade Fire before that because my mom showed me a bunch of shit when I was like 2 weeks old or something, and then and then I kind of got all of that stuff. But then I remember Green Day. I heard Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I was hanging with my homie on his trampoline, and his older brother played it or something. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I was was obsessed with Green Day ever since then. So Boulevard of Broken Dreams did it.
That's far.
And then I backlogged all the stuff. But I was kind of yeah, that was me.
I was a little MTV baby. I would sit and watch the top 100 countdown just every single day of my life. So that was like how I think I found a lot of the early rock. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, video games too, like playing Tony Hawk's Underground and like Boom Boom Pow and all that, those soundtracks. Like I remember the first time that I heard, ironically not either of those games, but the first time I heard Bat Country by Avenged Sevenfold was in like NHL, I think like 2004 or 2005 or something, the hockey game on my GameCube. And I was like, what is this? And I found the music video. And from there it was just like, what? And then that was kind of just working outwards from there. YouTube became a thing. Suggested videos became a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Targeted ads. I was targeted a lot.
I just had my best friend's older brother's best friend. We had the same birthday, and I thought he was like literally God to me. And so everything he showed me, I was like, this is the coolest shit ever.
What did he show you first?
Gorillas.
I love that it's all like family friends or family, or then there's video games. Like video games, I feel like it gets glossed over how important video games were back then, right? Like in terms of we all discovered so much music from video games, from NHL, from Madden and Tony Hawk and all of those. So that's really cool. I want to talk a little bit about touring. The last year, like I mentioned before, you went on some big tours. Bands like Blink-182, Matchbox 20. Is it intimidating being the opening act on big tours like that?
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, not really.
I think we're always like being the black sheep. And I feel like we always feel like we're going to be too poppy for the crowd or too heavy. So it's like,
I think we almost intimidate ourselves more than we get intimidated by people, like in the way that we're just like, okay, we have to fucking nail this.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the whole intimidation factor. And I think that's more so what I meant of in terms of it being intimidating, not more so in terms of like having a bigger audience, but just sort of like for yourself and being like, hey, like I got to go out there and kill it now. I guess kind of because there's a big audience out there, but you know, you guys are performers and you guys are killing it. So it's awesome to see you doing that with big bands. What is the coolest part about doing that?
The catering.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just like saying we've played Madison Square Garden is pretty. We played it 2 years after our first show ever, which was like.
But we literally said the next time we're here, we're going to play Madison Square Garden. It was kind of like, oh, haha. And then like we did. We actually did.
We played Mercury Lounge like 8 months, not even, probably like 6 months prior, which is like a 300 cap or 350 cap.
Crusty little venue.
And then within 2 years, you're playing Madison Square Garden. That's incredible.
Yeah, with Blink and Turnstile too, which is just like.
Yeah, that's that whole tour was just incredibly impressive. Like just what a tour that was. So that's really cool to be able to say that you were a part of that. And then what was it like touring with Matchbox 20?
We just did one show with them.
Yeah, just one show?
Yeah, but Rob Thomas is the dopest dude. The whole band is so cool. They watched our whole set from the side of the stage, like looking over and seeing Rob go.
Yeah.
It was sick. And then my favorite story about that was like we were trying to like talk to them about catering our songs to be more fitting for their audience. And he was like, do not do that. Like play your heavy music. Like I want it. And we were like, cool. So we ended our show with our song called Fight Mode. That is definitely not catered for their audience. And he was stoked. And a lot of people in the crowd were like, what the hell is this?
But that's awesome, though, because you get to do that and you're being authentically yourself and your band and you're not catering to what you think the audience wants. And so the people that genuinely want to find you, they get to find you that way, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
The dads were stoked.
Dads were very stoked. Moms were stoked, too. The moms were like, oh, they're kind of cute.
Yeah. The moms went home and checked you out.
Yeah.
Not your music.
I'm still getting DMs about it.
What part of touring do you feel the average person doesn't know or wouldn't understand?
How gnarly it actually is in like at this level, where it's like when we did our last headline tour, there wasn't always showers. And so like dude wipes and washing your face in an like an RV and just it's crusty. It's really crusty.
Also the lack of time. Like I think a lot of people are like, especially girls are like, oh, you're probably fucking so many bitches. And you're like, no, I don't even leave my RV. I can't leave my RV. I have to load gear now. Like it's just like relationships outside of like us just all cuddling in our little bunk mats is just not a thing.
Yeah.
Well, how much time do you usually have in each city between having to hop to the next one, right? Because a lot of the times you're driving. So I would imagine you're going to a city, playing a show, packing things up, and usually hitting the road, unless there's a couple of dates between you can spend a night. But
that's pretty much it.
It is that. I think on our last headline where it was like us doing the driving and stuff too, it was like we would leave after the show and start driving, and then we would stop in some bumfuck nowhere place to sleep, wake up, do the rest of the drive, and then we have like sound check and all this stuff. I like to go find coffee, so I have like 2 hours to go wander, and then the other two boys, you guys wander way more than I do.
We do a lot of walking. You kind of get like, it also depends because like an opener schedule is a lot different from a headliner schedule. So like usually the gap is like you get like 1 to 2 hours of downtime to spend as you would like. Other than that, your day is like you pull up to the venue, load in, sound check, play the show, leave. You know, meet everybody. I mean, we do a lot of like meet and greets after the fact. Like we'll come out and say what's up to everybody. But even then it's like outside and then we hop right in the van, just dip.
And when you're doing those walking within that little bit of time that you have, you said you do a lot of walking around. What do you sort of look for within each city?
Thrift stores, coffee shops, a dank meal. Love to get good food. It's
good
either
nature. And hot dads.
Hot dads. Yes. Myself. I look for myself. Soul searching.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Is there a particular city that you find is the most fun to wander around?
New York.
Yeah.
North Carolina was really cool.
Oh,
that's where we went into like Golden Goose and we had that like crazy like the fish tacos, right?
South Carolina.
South Carolina is really cool.
Charleston.
Yeah.
Oh, we've had a grand time in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh yeah, that was dope. Super dope.
I love Savannah, Georgia.
What was so great about Savannah?
Savannah's just dope. It's just like the energy's old and like it's just sick. I don't even know.
It's a very like young town because there's that art school there, like right downtown. And I just love that like the downtown historic area, you know, like you go someplace and you're like, wow, this is a cute little area. And you walk like 2 blocks and then it's like not cute anymore. Savannah like keeps the cute, like the entire thing is just really, really, it keeps going like cute, like this adorable little like townhomes everywhere. These like the crazy moss in the trees. It like, you kind of really feel like you're in this like weird movie. And it's like, it's one of the first cities in the United States, you know, and it still kind of feels like that. And like we went through one of the cemeteries there and like everyone in the cemetery was like, oh, from Scotland, from wherever, from England. Like they're like, oh, these guys literally were like the early, you know, colonists who like mobbed over. I mean, you know, and obviously there's a lot of dark history there too, but it's like, it was crazy to just see that and just like, you know, I think we're all history nerds a little bit when we go travel. It's fun to like, expand your mind a little bit out of just LA. So that was just a cool day to walk around.
Now you're making me want to go to Savannah.
You should.
This is actually sponsored by Savannah, Georgia. We're like part of their tourism committee.
Where's the Georgia
The Savannah Tourism. I'm going to reach out to them and get a sponsorship with them afterwards to make sure that, or else I'm cutting it out. So I'll get cut if they don't pay me. You mentioned Montreal as well.
Montreal is also sick as fuck. That was wild. It was like we were like walking in Europe. It was like, damn, it's all European, and then like a Ford F-150 would drive by, and you're like, we're not in Europe.
And now, if we are talking international, Milan.
Oh yeah,
well, actually, better yet, Lake Como was perfect.
Yeah, we didn't really go to one of the down in Milan. We were just there.
Do you find that you get more downtime when you're across the pond?
Nope.
Is it less? Yeah.
So we, on our European part of our tour last year, we did 2 tours back to back, and in between the opening slots we were doing headline shows. So we were doing like 5 days in a row back to back, and one of those days we had like a double show. We had like a thing, like a live recording and then a show that was a lot of shows and a lot of fast-paced touring.
You would think that with Europe, everything's a lot more compact and it takes less time to drive from city to city or country to country, that it would actually be a little bit more downtime.
It feels like you're touring the East Coast in that sense, where it wasn't like the craziest drives. Like when you're touring like the West Coast and the Midwest, it's like, oh, we have
10 hours, 14 hours.
Yeah,
we also don't know those
drive.
areas so well, so it's a lot of like kind of discovering as we go.
Yeah, we also don't know the language.
Yeah,
that I can imagine being one of the biggest hurdles.
That's the biggest thing. When we were driving through the border of the Czech Republic and Germany, this is a perfect example of why it takes longer and it's more cumbersome to tour over there. We are driving through the border and we see this like sign, like, okay, like don't bring like cigarettes or alcohol across the border or whatever. And this car pulls in front of us and the lights turn on. And it was like, obviously a cop car or some, official vehicle. And they're like, all right. And it's just a sign flashes in the back that says, follow me, pull over. We're like, oh, okay. And like, we follow this like weird, unmarked, obviously official car off the side of the road through the woods. And we're like, are we about to get killed right now? Like, what is happening?
Scary.
And we go through the woods into this weird, like almost like firehouse looking like building. They have us park. And then this like crew of like cops come out and they like open the door and they're like, all right, who are you guys? What are you doing here? And we're like, oh, and they're like, you guys don't have any drugs or anything? Like, we're like, no. And like, you have any cigarettes? We're like, no. And like, they like alcohol? We're like, no. And like, they like, okay. Like, what are you guys doing here? We're like, we're a band, whatever. We're trying to home me down with them.
They roasted us for being a band and not having any of those things.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, really? Yeah. You guys are kind of pussies. And we're like, okay, great. Thank you.
Really
Thank you. The Czech Republic police. And then
they forced Barta to do a cavity search.
Yeah, they had to do a cavity search.
Really?
One of the better ones I've actually received, though. So that was cool. But
yeah.
Then but then they made us all get out and they ran the whole van through this like crazy like scanner. Imagine like a TSA scanner, but for your entire car. So
they have that technology.
Oh yeah, they have that in the Czech Republic.
Stand behind this wall and stuff like.
And like they x-rayed the whole thing. They're like, all right, cool. We were there for like 30 minutes. And they're like, all right, cool. You guys are good. Like you guys are the worst fucking rock band ever. You don't have any drugs. And like, we're like, great, thank you. So after this 30-minute ordeal, we hop on the road. We're like, that was crazy. Like, whew. I shit you not, within 3 minutes, another car pulls in front of us and pulls us off again. And we're like, what the fuck is actually happening here? And
were they delivering you alcohol and cigarettes?
Yeah. And we're like, they pull us over and we're like, guys, you literally just did this to us 3 minutes ago. Can you like call the team and like, so we don't get stopped every 5 minutes here? And they're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then we looked at their badges and we're like, oh, this is the German police now. So it happened in the Czech Republic, and 3 minutes later we cross the border, and it happens again in Germany.
Did you get a second cavity search?
Yeah.
Another
For one.
Yeah, this one actually made him bust.
Yeah. This one you requested?
I was like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah.
The first one was so good. Let's try it again.
Let's see how you guys do over here.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I see who's better. Let's have a competition. Who gives the better cavity search?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So that was a fun little quirky. But Europe's awesome. We fucking love Europe.
Favorite meal on the road for each of you?
In Czech, they have this signature dish that's like braised beef with cranberry and then like a sweet cream on top.
Ooh,
that's crazy.
I like to just get something that's local, like whatever, like when we were in Maine, lobster rolls.
Yeah.
Or like, just like trying to get, when we were in Italy, getting a lot of like traditional dishes and like.
Wawa.
Yeah.
I love Wawa. The Wawa Italian sub. So good.
And then when you wrap up your tour, what makes you look back and say that was successful or it wasn't?
I think it's a lot of growth, and I think it's a lot of like energy. Like, how was the energy throughout the whole thing? Because the second morale starts slipping, I think even if a tour is like good on paper, it just like won't be a good time.
Yeah,
Whereas,
how many times did Beep has pissed someone off? I am last year I was the problem. This year I will not be.
He's our little chili pepper.
It's good that you're able to, self-reflect on that.
Oh, I reflected really hard. A few mirrors have broken in my shame.
I want to move on to songwriting. What's it like working with Pete Wentz and Mark Hoppus?
We don't a whole ton other than like we send. Yeah,
I've never heard of them. Who are
those guys?
We send Mark a lot of our music, and he gives us notes. Especially this next album that we're doing. Like I think he really is getting more involved on the kind of like pre-pro side, and like we'll send him ideas, and he's giving us a lot of notes. And like something that even outside of that we're really chasing for this next album is like more of an identity, because I think the last two projects have been collections of good songs. Mm-hmm. Whereas like now I think we really want to step into the shoes of like being able to have signature tones and textures and vocal chains and things that where like, even if you don't necessarily know us, if you've heard the song once, you can be like, oh, that's that band. And he's been coming in a lot on that side and being like, okay, this is cool. This is not, whatever. And just like helping curate, which is nice.
Yeah. We did a lot of writing with Mark before Blink started touring again, which was super cool because we were just like building our relationship. It was like right when we signed, and we were like going to his studio writing. That's how Almost Famous happened. We wrote it with him and Andrew Goldstein. And then he was like, I'll hop on any song you guys want. We're like, perfect, this one. And he's like, okay.
It's pretty surreal. It was wild, like recording the vocals, because you're just like, you hit recording, like, wait, that's the voice.
Mark Hoppus.
That's the voice you listen to like growing up on your iPod, and that's just running through my laptop.
And it's like, yeah, and it's mixed with your stuff.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, and I'm like, shit, I get to like EQ this. Like,
I would love to do a session with Pete, though. I would be so curious to see how his mind works in a songwriting space, just because he is like such a historical legend in the scene of emo and pop rock.
Lyrical wizard.
Yeah, I think I wanted to ask that because I wanted to know like if there was anything that they did to help you push you guys to the next level in songwriting and as a band, but and you guys kind of touched about sort of building that brand of your band and Beauty School Dropout. So I was kind of wondering if there was a part of the songwriting process that really makes a song a Beauty School Dropout song. Like, is there something signature that you guys need to do with a song where you're like, oh, okay, cool, I think I've got this good idea, but like this is what's going to turn it into a Beauty School Dropout song? Like, is there anything that you guys have in that process?
I think something that makes us sound like us is that we all, even though we have a lot of similar tastes, the three of us have very drastically different tastes too. And I think, and we all grew up playing as far as like the songs that we were learning and stuff, and like how much that like sits in us. Like you can tell which part each person wrote, well, we can, because it sounds like something those people would write. So I think that culmination, and also Bardo producing 90% of our stuff too, or like us all producing it too, like it just like hones it in to like up until this point to sound like us, but we were trying to take it like 100x further than we have.
I also saw that you guys were talking about your song One Night Stand You, talking about compromising your own standards for someone that's not worth the time or energy. I'm curious more so less on a songwriting side of things, more on a human side of things. Like, when do you feel that it's the right time to decide when a person like isn't worth that time or energy?
I feel like it's gotta be an intuitive thing. It's kind of like songwriting, like in the way that I think there's a lot of times where we'll be pushing on an idea that we're almost like trying more for the idea rather than letting it come to us. And I think the second that you find yourself having to like not even necessarily compromise, like, how do I put this? I think the second that you start bending and shape shifting your own values is when you're like, you should be able to be like, okay, wait, what am I doing? Like if your identity is changing because of said person or some significant other to the point where like you're not even yourself, I think that's when it's time to throw in the flag or set some boundaries. Healthy boundaries are cool too.
I've been notoriously bad at this my whole life.
Well, it's cool that you guys are writing songs about real situations and real feelings that way. Is that sort of your main inspiration when it comes to the songwriting process, is real experiences and emotions that you guys have been feeling?
Yeah, definitely is all coming from real life situations. There's an arsenal of stories that we could pull from. Like, I could tell you almost where every single line is inspired from, like at some point in the timeline.
Yeah. I think something cool too is like Coley writes most of the lyrics, or like at least the overall picture, like that is like his domain. And so like he'll rip a story to us and kind of tell us where it's coming from, and then we'll like riff on it to get it there. But Coley lives a very exciting life that's very writable about, and so like it's cool like that Bardo and I relate to like a lot of this stuff, but also like there are like hilarious real stories behind every single song that like
they're also really good at helping me elaborate into like, you know, whatever, because sometimes if I have patterns or like things that I'll lean towards, like or say it'll come from a certain story, whether that's love or whatever, like a certain topic, they're really good at being like, well, what if we made this synonymous with that but took it to another place that's maybe like more political or more of like an overall like a more generally encompassing theme rather than like something that's so niche to like the story, you know, which I think is cool. It helps push it further.
Do you have any themes or topics or stories that you just won't put into a song that are like off limits?
No,
not that I know of. I think we've definitely dug into some pretty dark material for sure, whether that's like known or not. But not that I know of. No, I want it to be very real.
I think it's only getting more intense. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like what we've been writing lately has been like gnarlier. Like it really has. I think it's just getting realer, and like I feel like we're more comfortable saying stuff that we maybe weren't comfortable saying up until now, or like just stretching it a little bit further. I don't know. There's some stuff that we've been working on that's like, damn, it's kind of sad, but it's real.
It sounds like you guys are coming more into yourself as a band. And I feel like that might even come into more of what you were talking about earlier, where Mark was telling you, you know, finding that band and that brand within yourselves, right? Like it sounds like you guys are really working on that and doing just that.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I think we have like this overwhelming dreamer's disease where we just like can't be satisfied with something. And also I think to our detriment, sometimes we're very result driven. Like I think even this last album, you know, it's like it's obviously getting a lot of love, but it's not like performing crazily to the point where we're like now already like, okay, what's the next thing? Like let's get it out and like make, you know, we just are constantly striving for bigger, better, faster, stronger, fucking, you know, whatever. So
do you have like an end goal that would leave you satisfied?
I like to think so, but also the further that we get, the more I realize nothing makes me happy. So I think there will be a point where we're headlining arenas, and hopefully then I'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think that is like my pinnacle, is like if we can sell out Madison Square Garden the day we drop tickets, and like there's a tour that's the same follow suit.
We have every intention to be the biggest band in the world, like quite literally, and I don't think we'll stop fighting until that is the case, at least for a blip of time, you know, whatever that is relative to. But I think it's also like there's a weird dance, right? Because I think beyond even just being satisfied with like the achievements, I think that there is a weird thing that, whether it's talked about that much or not, is it's like performing in front of people and to be on tour and to live this lifestyle where like you are kind of in some shape or form a limelight. It's like that in and of itself is a high that you can't really replace nor escape. And I think whether artists like it or not, when you get home, it can be really, really difficult to find the balance of like being okay with the come down. Because there is a heavy come down. It's like a drug, you know? And I think that's something that, at least I'm speaking for myself, about just like coming home from this last year of touring and having to deal with wrapping my head around like being a civilian again and doing normal shit and like paying the bills and doing all this, you know, trying to figure out how to get back to that place where it's like, oh my God, like, the chase.
Post-tour depression is real.
Yeah.
So you feel the same way?
Yeah, I probably a little bit less than the other two boys because they're socialites and I'm like a homebody. Like I love being home, but I also love touring. So like I think the feeling like I've accomplished something every day that happens on touring is what I lose. Is like because I have a guaranteed like schedule of a day that's going to be like successful or like not successful, whatever it will be, and like playing shows is my favorite thing on earth. So like that high I miss, and then when I'm home, I love being home too.
So what's next for you?
This album we're going crazy. We are trying to make the best shit we've ever made in our entire life, and we're just dialing ourselves in to come back into the world with this next stuff and crush it harder than ever before, and then tour the life out of it.
How far along is the album?
Oh, infantile.
Which is hilarious because we've already written upwards of probably like 25 songs for it.
How many songs do you typically write before you sort of compile them and discard some and keep some?
Like 100.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah, we just write so many demos. When we're really on our stuff, we're writing like at least a song a day.
That's impressive.
Yeah, we also write and produce for a lot of other people. So I think we kind of get into this hamster wheel of just like constant flow state. And like whether sometimes, you know, it's like that's also considering we write songs where other people will cut the vocals or whatever. Maybe it's intended for something else. And then we come back to it later. And if they haven't put it out or they don't want it and we realize it's more us, and we're like, okay, we could like bend it a little bit and make it BSD. But yeah, we write a lot of music. Like a lot.
Our Dropbox is crazy.
Paying for that premium subscription.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see if that like becomes an actual market. The subscription-based platforms for artists to be like D2C.
Yeah, I'm curious to know about that too, because we've seen the intention there with TikTok as well.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting model, especially because I think it could very well, depending on its success, like change the dynamic and the paradigm of like how people model bodies of work, you know, because if the idea is like, you look at any other paywall system of like subscription content, right? And it's like, there's this maximized output because you are trying to give as much value to this person as possible or to these people. Whereas, you know, with music, not everybody, you know, it's like if the goal is to put out as much quality music as possible, that could very well, I could see being like shaped differently if people are then focused on just trying to output content for the people who are following so that they can sustain business rather than to like prioritize art. But it is a weird thing because it's like without business, there is no music.
They go hand in hand, right? Like a lot of people will talk about bands selling out, but it's like you've got to eat at some point, you know, like everybody's got to eat. I'm curious how you feel about the subscription based as an artist, about subscription based music.
I'm not opposed to it because I think there's like this excitement of like seeing people invest in you, therefore investing back in your community, and it's like synonymous or like there's a synchronicity to it where it's like right now sometimes like we'll be like really stoked about a song and then it just goes to the TikTok void and it doesn't get received the same way because maybe it's not even hitting your audience. Like you look at the analytics and it's like 90% not people following you, which is great if it's clicking, but if it's not clicking and your fans aren't even seeing it, then it's like, okay. But like, I'm excited we've all done like the Instagram subscription stuff. We've all done we've done a few other things like it too. And I think we get excited to show the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see a world where it's like beyond just the music being subscribed to. It's like the world and the content and like honestly just an overall capability to monetize more for artists. Because I look at like YouTube, right? And I think there's something so interesting about the fact that like once you get to a certain level, not only are you capitalizing on the like per capita of streams, but then you're also capitalizing on the ads being projected onto all of those videos, right? Like that's an option for if I were a YouTuber, I could be like, okay, I'm going to monetize my videos by putting ads on them. Whereas like if you look at a Spotify is capitalizing on all those ads for people who are free users, which I think if there's a world where you could then implement that for artists to be able to be like, okay, like I want to put ads before my songs, but I'm making that money rather than Big Brother. It's like, holy shit, you like, that's almost how you license or make it like bottleneck the demand or the level of output for people to be able to put music in like into the world, but then to make money off it, right? Because then you have to be kind of at like a certain tier of listenership to be able to advertise, to be able to collect. And then it's like, I don't know. I just have a whole vision for it that I would love to see.
That opens up a whole new world of musicians and artists getting paid for their work, but also at the same time, I think that it from what you're describing, it sounds like almost like a YouTuber or influencer model with musicians.
100%.
And I think that's cool. I think that's really cool that you can be able to like have the Patreon or the YouTube or whatever it is. And, you know, fans can access you at all times. And while you're on tour, getting out of the thing, you know, you're posting a story or posting a video of you getting off of the bus, going into the stadium or backstage. And it's extra access to you, but it's also extra money into your pocket.
1,000%. It's so similar. Like if you really take a step back and look at it for what it is. I mean, especially now with the level of accessibility in output of music, it's like I'm totally going to fuck this number up, but it's what, like roughly 80,000 songs a day or something coming out on Spotify. It's like, no shit, no one's getting paid. What are you fucking kidding? Like that's so much data and so much just like content coming to people's platforms. It's like, how do you structure that in a way that's actually lucrative and fruitful for people who are like spending an entire lifetime crafting this thing?
Yeah, there needs to be a way where artists get paid, businesses get paid, everybody gets paid, right? And I like the model that you were talking about, but just also because you're giving people the option. I don't know. I'm also tired of subscription-based models, but that's more so for like businesses. You know, when I'm like paying for software to use for a business, it's like, just let me pay $100 and have it for the rest of my life. Like, why do I got to pay $20 a month for the rest of my life? But like with music and content that's different, it's like a Netflix subscription for a band.
Yeah.
You know,
I really like, do you know who La Russell is?
La Russell? No.
He's a rapper out of LA, and he has a really, like, his whole thing is kind of going against the grain of the music industry and the business. And he like actually allows fans to buy shares into, I believe I don't know if it's his mastering, his publishing, but essentially they're able to invest and mutually see the upside of the success of the music, right? It's like kind of treating the fan like an investor, which I thought is really cool. The only problem obviously being that like records don't make shit to begin with. So it's kind of like, damn it. But like, we don't have to tell everyone that.
How do you guys find that you are, I guess, becoming successful financially as a band? Like, where is that main income source? Is that, you know, talking about records not making that much money and streams not being that much? Like, what is getting you guys to eat to the point where, you know, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm making music and this is so much fun and we're on this high on tour. Is it the touring? Is it the, you know, is it the merch? Like, where is your, like, how can your fans support you the most?
Touring and merch is
100%
is the way, especially a rock band where we're like all in this. It's not like a solo artist where they're like collecting and then paying people to do stuff for them. Like we are in this together. Everything gets split up, like merch and touring and festivals and all that kind of stuff is like a rock band's bread and butter, I would say.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing though, because it's like, especially looking at, so I don't know if you're familiar, but like Dasha, for instance, is Bardo's sister, and she's having like one of the most unreal blow-ups right now from her song in the country world. And it is crazy to quantify like when you do reach a certain level, like if you're at a level where your song is getting upwards of 1 million streams a day, it's like that's when you start seeing money from the records. But again, because this like overall accessibility to put music out, it's so much harder, I think, for great artists to like hit that stride without like necessarily having to be a marketing guru or like have some crazy dumb luck on the internet.
Yeah, so until basically you make it to be big, you're kind of just with everybody else, especially in today's market.
Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, like, even the touring and merchandise side, it's like touring is so expensive as a band specifically. Like, to get us plus our gear anywhere other than like California is like, that's a lot of money. Like, we honestly say no to a lot because we're just not willing to compromise our well-being and our health to like also lose money. It's like, why would what the fuck, why would we do that? Like,
we've done a lot of that, so like
yeah,
we've spent a lot of money to be a lot of places. And so I think this year too is like we toured all year last year. Like we were yes men, we were down for the touring, and then this year we're just like, let's sit back, like let's like crack our TikTok code, let's lean in hard to like what's working and tour again later this year when it's like makes sense. Like,
what are the plans for the next tour?
Everything is like up in the air right now, but we're definitely like working. We're trying to like lock down like what is the best. We definitely will be touring this year. The mid to later half of the year, something will happen. But right now we're just trying to focus on last album, promoting that, getting more people to listen to that, and writing some of the best music I think we've ever written as a group.
You guys have had a really busy year last year, and now it sounds like another really busy year this year. Just it seems to be a little bit more, setting yourselves up to have an even bigger year towards the end of the year and next year, which is really exciting. And I can't wait to hear what comes out of all of that with this tour, with this new record that you're working on right now. A big part of this podcast is also sharing the love for so many other musicians and artists that are currently working just as hard. So I like to ask each and every single guest, who are some of your favorite up and coming artists right now?
Oh, I got a whole list.
You can give me that. At first I was like, no, you just need to give me one. Like, just give me one. Now I'm like, everyone has a huge list. I love the list. I love the recommendations. So if you have a bunch of them, you can rattle them all off.
We got a lot of LA bands that are definitely bubbling right now, like Alex Sucks, Model Dead, Sachi. Like he's kind of part of this collective with like this kid Noah Thomas and Lotus, and they make some amazing stuff together. Also really big on a lot of stuff coming out of London and UK right now, like Artemis.
Artemis, Kid Brunswick.
Artemis is like just fucking changing my brain chemistry daily. I love his music so much. Lola Young also is fucking incredible.
So sick. I don't even know if they're considered like up and coming anymore, but like Breakins is like one of my favorite artists ever, and like Glaive. I really like the standouts from the hyper pop wave really stuck with me, and I just like really love them. And a lot of hardcore bands. Straight from the Path is like one of my favorite bands of all time. They're so good.
Yo, Kato is really cool too. She's another chick that I met with one of our London friends, and she is like just an artist, like a real artist. We met totally random on a whim, but I was like, I don't know, I dig on music really hard. Like I love finding underground shit or stuff that hasn't really popped off yet. And like I think her song Little Me, I don't know, just listen to her catalog. It's crazy. It's just different. It's like a whole different soundscape that I really fuck with.
Oh, yeah. Cole and I also have been like sending back and forth like hardcore bands and like really like gnarly like metal music to each other. Like Heaven's Gate is like this Australian hardcore band. They're so sick.
Speed, bro. Gang called Speed is the hardest fucking band out right now. I'd say like next to TUI is probably my favorite hardcore band for sure, and Turnstile of course. But like they're just so ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Also, hold on. Jagger Bonham, fucking Asher, he has a project called Freak, and he's also, well, I can't tell the other band that he's about to start playing with, but like he is one of my favorite artists in the scene right now by far. If you like heavy ass music, it's immaculate.
I like the heavier stuff. I love the hardcore stuff. So I'm definitely, a few of these I know, a few of them I don't know. Definitely going to check out a bunch of these. And I really hope that a lot of people listening are feeling the same way, whether they're into the hyper pop or into the hardcore stuff. They go and check out some of the bands that you mentioned. So thanks for those recommendations. And thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really love this chat. Appreciate you guys taking the time. And like I said, I'm really excited to see what comes next for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to Our Space with Matt Batiste. If you enjoyed yourself, please support the show by subscribing and leaving a review.